What's up, guys? It's your boy Cliff and Lou, aka Lou Ventino, and this is our show. Stoppage time. We're back. We're ready to talk a lot of Serie A. There was huge implications for the Scudetto race this weekend. A lot of things happened. Coppa Italia was today with Inter and Milan in the Derby della Madonnina, and then we have Juventus Fiorentina coming up tomorrow in the Coppa Italia that we'll talk about. Obviously, everybody's favorite game, buy or sell. There's just a lot to get into. But first, we got our housekeeping to do. This pod is brought to you by All Juve Cast, our amazing team, and little thing called Stripe Parts Apparel. And I finally got my gear, and man, this stuff is comfy.
I didn't even realize that, Cliff, when you were wearing it pre-show. Now I notice it. Looks awesome. I haven't seen that hoodie before, so
Dude,
amazing.
it's so I don't want to spoil it, but it's custom. I actually got it custom because they actually don't have it in the pink. But I got like serious old Juventus vibes from the old kits.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I had. The only thing was, I wish I asked for like the letters in black. I feel like that would have been really kind of a cool homage to the Juve of old. But I love the pink. The material is so comfortable. You guys, most places rip you off with the quality of the material. This is mostly cotton. Almost all of it's cotton. So obviously that's huge. It's really great, very comfortable. I played soccer in it the other day. Super breathable. And man, it makes you feel like you're a top player in this gear, man. It's awesome. But you guys got to get some. We already got people in here. Askeris 2001. What is up? Hola. Ciao. Bienvenue, as they say in French. And then we got our boy Chris DeSantis. I'm here to reign terror.
Oh, not Chris.
That's Lou. Lou is our house terrorist that we have in house. And then Chris, makes his appearances every once in a while. And then Asker is speaking some French. Voilà, bienvenue. Very nice, very nice. So like I said, guys, we got a very jam-packed episode today. We're gonna get right into it. There were a lot of matches this weekend that were very interesting. I'm going to give you guys a quick rundown. And then while waiting for that, we got, Chris saying, just call me Rabio because he's a terrorist, because we know Rabio is a terrorist. So I'm pulling up the results right now, and you can also see them at the bottom on the ticker. So the results that came about – sorry, guys, bear with me while I'm pulling these up on my phone. So we had on Friday, Milan, Udinese, 1-1 draw. We had Genoa, Inter Milan, 0-0 draw. Saturday, we had Empoli losing to Juventus, 3-2. We like that. Salernitana and Bologna, 1-1 draw. Sassuolo, Fiorentina, Sassuolo winning 2-1. Sunday, we had Torino losing to Cagliari, 2-1, which is a really intriguing match. We'll get into that one. Verona continues their hot streak, beating Venezia, 3-1. Roma barely squeaking out a victory against Spezia, 1-0. Napoli in a thriller came down to the wire 2-1 against Lazio. And then lastly, we had Atalanta routing Sampdoria 4-0. So that was absolutely phenomenal. Yeah, and those were kind of our scores. And then today, obviously, in the Coppa Italia, we'll get into that. Inter and Milan, the Derby della Madonnina. Again, it was 0-0 draw. So we're going to get into this. Well, first, I want to ask you, Lou, what were some of your takeaways from this weekend? What did you think when you saw these matches?
I mean, there are some crazy matches. I mean, Roma Spezia down to the last minute. Juventus Empoli was up and down. As Juve fans, that was a wild match to watch. 5-goal thriller. The last time I haven't seen that in a while from Juventus. Both the Milan teams drawing is interesting, but I think the big one for me is that Atalanta Sampdoria one. It's not on our list, but that to me had a billing that could be a really close game, and Atalanta just wiped the floor with them. So I was pleasantly surprised by that result.
Yeah, and we'll get right into it now. We had our first match that I really wanted to get into was Napoli Lazio, because that was kind of the big one that everybody was had their eyes on. This one was a crazy game. It was really back and forth. I honestly thought Napoli would handle Lazio pretty well, but Lazio gave them a really good fight. And credit to them. Forget what the first goal was. But I just know that the last 3 goals were just it came down like right near the end. Do you have them in front of you, Lou?
Yeah, so the first goal was scored by Insigne.
Okay,
He had
yeah,
an absolute belter.
yeah,
Twitter had a lot of fun with it. I had a tweet saying I think that was one of the most important goals Insigne's ever scored
yeah,
because it was all Lazio up until that point. And then Lazio equalized through Pedro, which if you haven't seen that,
man,
arguably goal of the week, goal of the month. I mean, class
yeah,
player Pedro. And then Fabian Luis with a stoppage time winner, a curler with his left foot. The keeper is actually in position to save that, but it was such a good shot. He managed to bend it into the bottom corner. The keeper was right next to the post, slipped it right by him. So just a tremendous set of goals in that match. It was really,
yeah.
I think I captured the big Serie A match for the weekend, right?
Yeah, I want to ask you though, like, so we had those 2 bangers. We had Fabian Ruiz's amazing stoppage time finisher to win the game for Lazio or for Napoli, excuse me, and then you had obviously Pedro's phenomenal volley. Which one do you say is the goal of the week for you?
Ooh,
So
man.
hard.
Well, I'm gonna go with Pedro's if we're going pure technique.
Yeah,
It's just like it was a dirty technique. Pedro is one of the most underrated players of my lifetime. He had a bad spell at Chelsea, but he was great for Barcelona and Spain for a couple of years.
yep.
And at his age to hit a volley like that, just absolutely disgusting. So that's my pick. Sorry to the Napoli fans that are listening.
Yeah, few people know how good in his heyday Pedro was, especially in FIFA. He used to be an absolute cheat code back in FIFA 13.
Yeah.
He was so good. He had so much potential and stuff. And he was so quick. But yeah, I mean, pure technique. I mean, Fabio Ruiz, you take into consideration he took it on his left and he's a righty, but still, like to hit the volley the way Pedro did and he hit it so purely, that's goal of the week for me, man. Absolutely, absolutely crazy. But overall, who do you think this is the biggest difference maker for? Is this a worse loss for Lazio or is this a better win for Napoli?
This one for me is all about Napoli. I mean, as you answered the scores and we kind of briefly touched on in the rundown, Milan and yes, he is 55. But Milan and Inter, both dropping points this weekend, much to our joy, leaves because they're a rival. It leaves Napoli with this big opportunity. In years past, when they were competing with Juventus for all those Scudettos, they had missed. I chose Napoli, Chris. But
No, he meant for the goal. Yeah,
well, Pedro Spanish tax. But Napoli for this sketch, we know that they've missed chances. They've missed some chances this season, but to get a win in a match like this, they had a number of injuries leading up to this match. Lorenzo Insigne, who's a player that a lot of fans have debated back and forth. He's on his way out the door. That's kind of controversial. He solidified himself with the national team a little bit at the Euro, but now he can really solidify his resume by scoring a big goal, right? And then you have players like Fabian Ruiz, who a couple years ago wanted to leave. They managed to stay. Napoli, I don't know if people know this, they forfeited all their sponsors coming into this year so they could keep this group together. And with that, with Spalletti, who's kind of an old school guy, it's just a really, big moment for them. And I think for them, this could be a catalyst to drive them forward into the Milan match this weekend and maybe make a push for that Scudetto that they've been chasing for so long.
I'm going to be honest. I actually had no clue. I didn't actually know that myself because I just knew they had signed a big sponsorship deal with Amazon for their kids.
Yeah, so this year they went sponsorless. And part of it is the Amazon one, but also another part of it was because they were trying to, negotiate, keep all their players together.
Yeah.
They didn't sell anyone. And
because it was Europa League for them.
Yeah, they brought Anguissa in. I mean, Anguissa is a decent player. He's been decent for them this year, but they were
500,000 euros.
Yeah, they rolled the dice a lot. I mean, they could lose players for free this summer. They don't care. Like they just want to keep the collective together.
Yeah. I think you gave a perfect answer. I think this is a bigger win for Napoli. Because this, I mean, obviously now they're top of the table. And you had all of Napoli Twitter acting as they had already won, like they'd already won the Scudetto. And I mean, it's definitely like when you get first place, it's a huge accomplishment. It's a great feeling. We obviously never had to worry about that because we were always in first place every year for the last 9 years. But we won't talk about Juventus too much, like I always promise. But yeah, I mean, it's a big feeling for them. And, let's see if they can keep the momentum. Like, they got now Osimhen back from injury. It seems like they don't have too many injuries. It seems like they're building momentum. They could make a run. Who knows?
Yeah, I think that not to bring it back to Juventus, but the Sarri year when we caught up to Inter and then beat them in that match, it feels like Napoli's building to that moment. And this
Yeah.
is one of those matches that builds you to that game against Milan for the position at the top of the table where, if you're Napoli fans, I think that as annoying as it was for rival fans, I love our Napoli fan mutuals, but it was they smell blood in the water. They see it's there for the taking. Now the question is, are they going to pull kind of the classic Napoli and mess it up as they have prior, or is this team finally seasoned enough to do so? I mean, Cliff, what do you think? Do you think that is this team ready? Is this their moment, or you think
it's really close. It really is close because now you're seeing kind of a drop off from Inter. You're starting to see kind of a little bit of these injuries starting to come in, creep in. Even though now they have Gostin's back, so that's huge. But you're seeing Lautaro's kind of in a spell of actually not even they're not having many injuries, just Correa, and then I think somebody else got hurt for them, I believe. But if you look across the board, most of their guys are healthy, but they're all hitting a route, or a rut. The whole defensive back line are all starting to drop off. They're not as obviously today they did well, but recently they had not been in good form. De Vrij, Skriniar, Bastoni, they just kind of had been losing a step. I don't know if it's fatigue or whatnot, because obviously it's a long season and they've been playing Champions League as well in Coppa Italia, which is a lot for any team, especially now because they're piling up more and more games to be played. And then Lautaro, like I said, hasn't been scoring. Dzeko hasn't really been scoring. They're trying to see who can get goals for them. So you brought up a good point. I'll make this quick, but you brought up a good point about history. You're only as good as your history until you do something to change it. So I think as of right now, that history is looming over Napoli's head. So if they want people to think differently about them, this will be the moment to change people's minds that this is a different Napoli, that they can turn the corner. Because historically, we have seen them choke. It's not a slight against Napoli fans. It's a fact. It's a historical fact. And if they can break it, it's amazing for them. But I think as of right now, based on history, I'm going to give the advantage to Inter. I still think this is Inter's Scudetto to lose because they're still, when they're on, they're probably the best team in Italy right now. So I'm going to give it to Inter. What do you think? You think
I predicted Inter in January.
I mean, Roma's not winning it, so
listen, I don't think Juventus is winning either, but the way the top three are playing, God knows, there's still plenty of time left. But my prediction was Inter at the start of the year. I'm gonna rebuttal on it. I actually don't think that I think they're gonna finish third. I think it's between Milan and Napoli, and I think that Milan might edge them. But we'll see.
Really?
I do. I think that Milan are a little bit deeper. I just think that they've suffered from a lot of their more experienced players being out injured, and I think they're going to get them back at the right time to help carry them over the line. Mm-hmm. But in terms of who's the best team, I think Napoli play the best football. It's just more, can they break that mold? This weekend will be probably remember, if someone gets 3 points out of this matchup this weekend, I think that they'll definitely win the Scudetto. But I'm leaning towards Milan at the moment.
Yeah. Okay. Milan. That's really interesting because when you said deep, I would not think of describing Milan as a deep team.
I think that if I could just explain that real quick, I think that they have the numbers to kind of fill positions, whereas Napoli, when they start to lose some players, Spalletti's had to move his formation around a little bit, tinker a bit. They just have the numbers to fill in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily the same amount of qualities, maybe as their starters. They have enough, enough players that have played in that same group for a while to get over the hump. Inter they just look like shells themselves. Lautaro and De Vrij have just regressed as the season's gone on, and Simone Inzaghi has not changed anything.
If they choke, yeah, exactly. So Chris said if they choke hard enough to let Juve catch up, no offense, it'll be a total disgrace. And no offense taken, because Juve, quite frankly, in my opinion, are out of it unless something insane happens. So I think they would really have to choke hard for Juve to catch up. That I think all the teams would have to choke up, and I don't think it would happen. I think this weekend coming up will be the weekend that will determine the rest of the season. Because you have obviously for the Inter it doesn't because they're playing Salernitana, which with all due respect to them, I think Inter should win, even though we've seen some crazy results this year. But Napoli playing Milan, that will decide, I think, who solidifies themselves in that top 2 spot. Because I think if Napoli win it, I think people start thinking, okay, this may be it. This might be Napoli's. And then also another big one is Fiorentina Verona, because if they want to stay in that top 6 race, that's huge. But let's move on to the next match. We'll get into the preview of next week at the end if we have time. We obviously we were talking about Sassuolo and Fiorentina. This one I followed extremely closely. This was a really, really good match to watch. This was a 50-50 possession, so it was really even in possession. I honestly thought Fiorentina would win because Sassuolo has been having some rough goes at their matches lately. It was really back and forth. Again, the man who everybody I feel like has been overlooking, Hamed Junior Traore, has been phenomenal. He's been really good over the last few matches. He's had a really good streak recently. He had the first goal in the 19th minute. He was the first scorer, and that put them up 1-0. And then it took until the second half late. Actually, I should say the first thing, Bonaventura got a red card in the 79th. He got something for what I think was a little bit of a suspect yellow. It was, I think, a foul, but I guess because it was so late in the game, the ref was like, let me take control of this and give me yellow. Then he started mouthing off the ref a little bit. And then the ref, it didn't even look like Bonaventura said a ton, but the ref pulled it up straight away and looked back at him like, what do you think? What do you think's going to happen? Then Arthur Cabral scored the goal that tied them up at 1-1 in the 88th minute. Making his first goal for the team. Really impactful first goal. So really, really clutch from him. And then literally at the end, like 93, 40-something in the match, almost the end, it was +4 in stoppage time. De Frel comes up with a huge clutch goal to win it for Sassuolo. This one was great. 16 shots, 6 on target for Sassuolo. 15 shots, 6 on target for Fiorentina. So this is a pretty tightly contested match. This is a really great one. What did you think of this one?
Yeah, it's on par for both of these teams and these coaches. Sassuolo for years now have been.
I don't agree with Chris at all. I don't think even if Roma win, I don't think they're top 4. I don't think they're top 4 at all.
They got put a string of wins together before
they have to. For me to actually, sorry to interrupt you, but for me to think they're actually serious, they need at least 2 wins and a draw or 3 straight wins to actually turn my mind around and thinking they can make top 4.
In Chris's defense, though, the way Juventus have played, they could draw this weekend, and Lord knows what happens.
They very well could.
It does have top 4 implications because Atalanta have that game in the hand, so it's not that far off.
Okay, let's look, Chrissy boy. Let me look real quick before you go. He said, "Look at the table." Okay, you're at 44. Oh, wow, you're in 6th. Okay. You're 6 points behind Juve. So, realistically, you need Juve to drop points, which it could happen, but you have to get 6 points to catch up to us. So, you have to assume you win your next 2 matches. And you have to assume we lose our next 2 matches.
And you also have to assume that,
Atalanta doesn't do anything.
Juventus haven't lost a game since December, November, late November. They're on a they've dropped points, but they haven't lost, in a while. But you 100%. Also need Roma to make a run.
Yeah, 100%. And nothing's impossible. We know in all sports,
it's actually a really good point because they're only 6 points off. I don't want to shit on Chris's point. I actually think he makes a really good point, and thank you for that point, Chris, because it is a game that's flying under the radar, but it could, in a month or so, you could look back and be like, that was the game that put Roma back in the top 4, maybe shook things up.
So this make or breaks Roma season. I think this could be a huge decider for the rest of the season for them.
I think that's fair. To answer your question about Sassuolo Fiorentina, this game was, you mentioned the 16 shots, the 15 shots. That's like 30 shots combined. That's on brand for both these clubs. Sassuolo for a long time have been doing this. They play really good football. They have a lot of shots, really good young players. Fiorentina under Italiano, we all know how much you and I love Italiano. Same with Joe and Lex, who are on the show very often. They all love Italiano. He's a great up-and-coming coach, and he's played really great football under Fiorentina. I thought they were a little unlucky. I thought they deserved the draw in this match. I think 1-1 was the fair result.
Yep.
But, to let in a goal in the 93rd minute, that's a complete, lack of
concentration.
Concentration, yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. I was going to say intelligence, but that's not the right word.
Well, you just look at as soon as they let in the goal, everybody goes like this.
Yeah, it's just everyone, they could just tell, like, what did we just do? But Dama Traore, who you mentioned, he's having his kind of – every year there's a bunch of Sassuolo players we talk about, and they're all going to leave in the summer. And you all know that Raspadori and probably Scamacca are going to leave. And towards the end of the year, there's someone that pops up, and he's like the heir to that throne. Raspadori was like Locatelli's last year. Adama Traore is that next up-and-coming player.
Yeah, he's really good. And he was a former Juve player, I think, right? We had him on loan or something?
We still have the first right to refusal of his sale. So, yeah.
That could be really interesting because if you're talking smart business, not saying we would bring him onto the squad because we actually could. We could use him. Very useful player. But in terms of just financials, if they think, okay, we have other targets we want to pursue, but we want to try to cash in on this kid, say anywhere between 20 to 30 million, which I think is a pretty fair valuation for him. You can make that money, pocket that, and right, because they would technically still own him as a player.
It's a little bit less than that. And if Alberto's still listening, I bet he may know the actual figure, but his figure is between 10 and 15 mil to bring him to Juventus. But we'd still make 10 or 15. He could be a swap deal. You never really know. I think the feeling is, at least Paulo Nomalo seems to think that he's staying at Sassuolo.
Yeah.
But you're starting to see, like, I think the big thing with him is he's found his home at Sassuolo. Like, they found the best position for him. They found where to get the best out of him, and he's playing really confident. And it helps when you're playing in the front four with Berardi, Scamacca, Raspadori. Chances start to open up for you a little bit.
Yeah, 100%. And I think of him like this. He's kind of like the heir apparent to Boga's replacement.
Yeah.
Because he's very similar in his play style to Boga. And it really is funny because you think, there's nobody like Boga. But Traore is very similar in the way he plays. Very quick with his feet. Really dynamic. Really good at putting the ball towards net in terms of shooting. And is also has really good assist numbers. He always seems to be in the right spots. He could play kind of like a left wing cam hybrid. He could play both those positions.
Yeah. And like Chris, the comment you highlighted from Chris, when he touches the ball, like you kind of like get out of your seat a little bit. Like he's got that energy, right? You don't know what's going to happen. So
100%.
Right future for him.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's kind of the rundown in terms of Sassuolo and Fiorentina. That was a great match. And now I think the surprise of this weekend that I don't think anybody saw coming, Cagliari getting the win over Torino, the surprise victory, 2-1. They beat them. This was, in my opinion, even though the score, there was like 3 goals given up, this was the battle of the goalies, man. They had some really phenomenal saves with Cragno and Milinkovic-Savic. Man, dude, they had some really good goalkeeping moments. There was one where I forget who it was, but someone, I think it was Pobega. No, Pobega had a shot that went wide, but someone on Torino shot the ball. It was probably, I want to say like 15 yards out, maybe closer, and shot it dead to the right of the goal, as hard as you could hit it. And Cragno just barely gets his arm to him, smacks it up above the goal. Just absolutely phenomenal. He's just such a good goalkeeper. I'm surprised he hasn't made a jump to another team yet. But this game was the battle of the goalies. 57 possession of Torino, so they actually had more possession, 15 shots, 6 on target, with Cagliari having 43 possession, 11 shots, 5 on target, which is not bad either. A lot of yellow cards later in this game. 6 yellow cards were given out. I do want to highlight something that I think you would love. First, I'll tell you who scored. Belotti scored in the 54th. The kid I want to highlight, Raul Bellanova, scored in the 21st. Great goal. Young kid, 21-year-old Italian, played out of his mind this game. Played absolutely phenomenal. He's a right back. He's Italian. He's on loan from Bordeaux, from France. And he played out of his mind. I don't know where they find these kids sometimes, and he's been great. We'll touch on him in a second. I want to get your thoughts on him. And then it was Alessandro Diola, who kind of locked it in for Cagliari in the 62nd minute to score. Give me your take, man, on this one. This is a crazy game to watch.
So this game, I think, is a game that probably a ton of people didn't watch because, who is the casual fan sitting around to watch Torino Cagliari? Both these teams, they're two of the hottest teams in Serie A since the start of 2022. Ivan Juric has rebuilt Torino into a very difficult mid-table side. We saw that firsthand when they came to Juventus and pulled off a 1-1 draw. Cagliari I think they're the third most points in Serie A since the start of the year. There are a couple matches unbeaten as well, which is phenomenal for them. They were in the relegation zone. Walter Mazzari has actually pulled them out. Just leapfrog your boys Venezia. I'm sorry. But
I didn't want you to mention it. It makes me very depressed.
I have to. But, both these teams, what they've done here is Torino have a bunch of really interesting young players. They have Signo, they have Pobega, who's on loan from Milan. Belotti, who he's a more established player, but he's on the verge of going. And then players like Mandragora, Pajica, Bremer, who's a hot name on a lot of people's radars. This is a really good side. And Ivan Juric, who's a really underrated coach, has made them really difficult to play. And for Cagliari to get this win, to pull it off the way that they did, it's a massive result for them in the relegation show. And it shows that, one thing I learned about Serie A this year, people like Spalletti, Walter Mazzari, who've kind of been written off, they're a little bit old school. They still got a little bit of magic left. So some of these old school Italian coaches have made Serie A interesting this year. And they still can work some miracles. And I think Cagliari, they're really one to watch because they are flying right now.
I think that's a great point. And I just love the parity in Serie A this year that anybody can beat anyone. And it's not your nonno Serie A, which I love about it. This Bellanova kid really kind of, I don't think anybody's ever heard of him. I hadn't heard of him before this match when I watched it, and he's like really impressive. It's just I'm just breathtaking by this team. Cagliari to beat this
year. Yeah. Or maybe it was Atalanta, one of the two. I think it was Atalanta, and they pulled off a result, and he had an absolute beautiful run. He had two of them. One, he should have scored a goal, and I think the other one, he assisted the goal, and it was breathtaking. He's just a really solid player that's kind of come out of nowhere that fits that old Walter Mazzari style. But like you were saying, this isn't your nonno Serie A. Torino play that Ivan Juric, deep, beautiful counter-attacking football, but they can control games against teams that are their level opponent, right? They play like Hellas Verona used to play.
Yeah.
And then you have Cagliari, who's adapted more of an old school kind of approach where they play very defensive, and then they come out. But both these teams, 1-1 would have done both of them fine, right?
Oh, yeah.
Cagliari didn't settle for the 1-1. They wanted the 3 points because they knew it's a gamble, but it's a gamble that might pay off in keeping them, in the top flight next year. So, like you said, we say this all the time, it's not your nonno Serie A. I mean, these two teams are more entertaining than some of the top teams were the past couple of weeks. So,
yeah, 100%. And it pains me that they're leapfrogging Venezia because Venezia have been really unlucky. They've been really close in a lot of results. Obviously, they got spanked this weekend by Verona, but we know how good Verona has been this year. They're actually in the midst of fighting for a European spot right now. So they've been impressive, which I did want to mention. We haven't been able to shoot it yet. We're going to be doing a video this weekend. We're going to record with a Verona fan, Rick Hoff, who does Notes of Milan. That's his, or no, Notes of Milan. Notes of Verona is his page, and he knows everything about Verona. He's a phenomenal writer too. So I'm really excited to have him on. We're gonna try to shoot that this weekend at some point. We'll just lock that in with him, hopefully, and then we'll get that to you guys ASAP so you can watch it because it's gonna be a really interesting, in-depth interview, kind of the rise of Verona this season. So yeah. So now the fun part. I want to mention quick because I don't know if I'm gonna. Actually, no, I'll mention this later because I have a sneak peek of it later. But Coppa Italia, Inter Milan, the Derby della Madonnina. One of the most boring games I've ever watched. I wanted to just fall asleep. It was terrible. A terrible game. Nobody could do anything. Nobody was playing very crisply. I mean, Milan had a few good runs going forward. Leao just seemed very out of it. He had two very bad consecutive plays. One where he took the ball and he kind of took a misstep before he shot. They said in the commentary that he didn't know where the goal was. It looked more like his kind of feet kind of got misplaced. Like, you know how you set your foot and then right at the last second the ball you double touch the ball with your set foot and you move the ball right before you shoot it and it like goes skyward. That's what he did. He hit it weird and then just went to the left and completely missed the goal. And the next play, he's wide open. He just takes it, cuts it inside, tries to curve it, and he just smashes it into the stands. So Leao seemed off. Just a really terrible game to watch. I'm not sure if you watched it. What were some of your thoughts?
Yeah, I caught most of it, and then I recapped the highlights before the show. And what my impression of the first hour of this match kind of sum up the problems with both the Milan clubs right now. Mm-hmm. Simone Inzaghi he has one way of playing. It's been exposed. Teams know it, and they're a spectacle. I mean, they looked all over the place. The longer the days where Conte kept them organized, and when Conte comes in, usually his imprint stays there, right? But for whatever reason, this club has seemingly lost it over the last couple of months, and they can't score goals. They're very weak up front. They've been weak up front for a while. Lautaro doesn't have that dominant presence that Lukaku does, and Dzeko, he's older, right? And then you look at players like I look Stefan de Vrij. He doesn't even look like the same player. You watch him play, and you're like, this guy's regressed. Even Bastoni is a player I really rate. He's been really good at times this season, but sometimes I watch him in matches and I wonder, what's up there? It's just the whole team, has regressed to the extent. And I think on the Milan end, we talked about Milan winning the Scudetto, and I said, I think they will. Matches like this highlight maybe why they wouldn't. And it's about, getting chances and actually capitalizing them. And this is a game where Inter's there for the taking. And, like you said, Leao wasn't that good. But overall, I think these are just two teams that know this weekend's important for the Scudetto. They have one eye on it, and they figured, hey, we're not going to freak out about this game because there's a second leg.
Yeah, 100%. It just seemed like the pressure seemed to get it to everybody. Even to the more veteran players, it seemed like it was kind of in their head that they had a match coming up that would be crucial to the season.
I just thought, I'm sorry, Cliff, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I think Milan, if they get Zlatan Ibrahimovic back, I know he's older. He's not the same player, but they're missing a big physical leader, somebody that's going to push that team forward.
Not Giroud?
Giroud is a leader, but he's not that type of leader. Like Zlatan, his presence is, different.
He invokes something within you, like a passion.
He's healthy, because he causes so much distraction, just is very much, and he's so much of a presence in that team. I think it would help get them over the line. And when I watch Milan like that, that's what it's like they needed leadership, somebody to step up and be like, hey, they're there for the taking. Get them. Right?
Yeah, 100%. This game was terrible to watch it. I couldn't believe this was a derby. It didn't feel like there was intensity to it, of course. There was always intensity to these matches. we have Asker saying he said it. Giroud. That's my new thing. I'm known for something else, which I might do later, and then I'm known for saying Olivier Giroud. That's my new thing. But yeah, this one, I mean, Giroud, he just doesn't bring the same intangibles that Zlatan brings. He obviously brings a similar skill set, big body. Good player with his feet, decent hold-up play. But just, I don't know, something felt off. Was Tonali even playing in this match? Because I don't think he was. I think it was Kessie and Benacer.
He didn't start. I'm sorry, it took me a minute. I'm a little sleep deprived, but no, he didn't start.
That's okay. It just seemed like because if he was in this match, I wouldn't be able to tell because it just seemed so dead. It seemed like the midfield, it seemed like Kessie wasn't playing well. Benacer was doing well defensively, but it just didn't seem like there was a lot going forward for either team, really. They were both pretty defensively sound, which was good. But for us as fans to watch, it was kind of boring to not see anybody score.
It was weird because the last couple of years the Coppa Italia has been actually very fun to watch. You think about last year, we got a great semifinal between Juventus and Inter. Those games, even the 0-0 in the second leg was entertaining, right? You expected the Milan derby to just be a little bit better, and both these teams, I just think the eye on that Scudetto is there. Two inexperienced coaches in terms of winning the Scudetto as well,
Yeah.
that plays a little bit of a factor in there, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I actually wanted to throw this in here because I just remembered. I went out this weekend with Roberto, who's a great soccer mind. He's a good friend that we got to finally meet. We're friends on Twitter. We went to the same college. He's a friend of a friend, and we got to meet up and chat some calcio. And he asked me a really good question. If I had to put my money on something, what would my top four look like? Because obviously throughout all the craziness, there's so much going on. What would you say, Lou, is your top four right now?
Ooh.
And by the end of the season, what does it end with?
Milan, Napoli. That's where it gets tricky.
Yeah.
I think Inter stay in third and we finish fourth.
Okay.
I do really think there's a chance that Juventus could catch Inter. I don't think that's crazy to think about.
Yeah, for me, I think it still ends Inter, Napoli, Juventus, Milan. I just think because of what?
I think Milan fall that far.
I just think losing all their players, it's going to catch up to them. Losing these players and kind of losing some of that depth. I think it's going to catch up.
Milan looked to me as a team that, like, despite all those injuries, they find solutions, right? They find performances. Like the Junior Macias, right, comes off the bench and scores goals here and there in games that they need it. Inter just look like their plan is kind of like gone to hell.
Yeah, 100%. I did want to address this question or the comment that Ascatis, I think I say that right, Ascatis 2001, saying, let's not beat around the bush. This game was terrible, not derby quality or a semifinal of Copa quality. Felt like watching two Juve from a few months ago when we couldn't even string passes. Sloppy, just plain awful. That's a really good way of summarizing it. I don't know what he means by saying watching two Juve from a few months ago, but
he means like watching Juventus a couple months.
Oh, like yeah, because watching Juve was it was terrible. And then he says, I think we may finish third. So I think he's a Milan fan.
I think it's a real. I mean, the top three I think is going to interchange at least one more time before the end of the season, maybe twice. You know, it's still there, but you have to think about too, like Inter, if they don't fix their form, they finish the season against Juventus.
I don't know why he's mad at me. I don't know what I said. Oh, he said a Milan fan. I don't know who you are. I don't know like who you are. I don't know if I knew your real name. I know. I'm confused. So I guess a Juve fan. Oh no. Oh, it's Lalo. I didn't know.
I didn't know he was. That was
How the hell was I supposed to know? That's such a different name from
Lalo.
Yeah, Lalo, you got me, man.
No.
It's a guy, right? It's a guy, right?
I'm glad you just got Cliff there. You're the man.
It's a guy, right? Okay, cool. Because I don't know with some of the usernames. I don't know if it's a woman or a guy with the username. So I made this up for gaming.
Fair enough.
That's fair. But yeah, that we love it. We love it. Thank you so much for hopping in here. Like 10 years ago, he said. That's hilarious. But yeah, really good recap of this match. Really boring. We obviously have Juve Fiorentina, which we'll preview shortly. Now we're gonna get to the game that gets everybody up in the morning, or gets everybody thinking: buy or sell. First, we got to talk about the old 55-year-old Pedro. Would you buy or sell him right now?
Ooh. You gotta buy his form right now. He's in form.
Yeah,
playing really, really well for Lazio. And you know, in Italy's the land where you're never too young to play in Italy, or you're never too old to play in Italy. So
you're not too young to play in Italy too. Clearly, there's a lot of young players. So I'm gonna go buy as well. I do not like this. I have a grudge against Spanish teams and players. I think you probably know why. But yes, I would buy him in a heartbeat. A phenomenal player, even at his age of 55. Next, we have Fabian Ruiz, the other man in that match who got the game winner. Would you buy or sell
him?
It's a tough one.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy based on his form this season, but Fabian Ruiz is a strange player. Like, he doesn't really fit your typical Spanish style. He doesn't really fit in Italy, but his form for Napoli's been really good.
Yeah,
But I think just from a Napoli perspective, I buy in the Fabian Ruiz because he's played very well for them.
I would too, and it's really funny because everybody was like, oh, he's got to be sold. He was terrible last year. Now he's picking it up, and everybody seems to be changing their tune. I always thought his talent's there. He just needs to be played in his proper position, which I think is a more offensive-minded attacker, preferably a cam. I think that's his best role because he's really good, like at the edge of the box. He's super dangerous at being able to curl it, as we saw in the game winner, curls it into the back corner of the net. So I think he's perfect there. And Zielinski, I think, is your more box-to-box center mid. I don't think he should be playing cam, even though Zielinski's phenomenal. He can play anywhere he wants. Next, another center midfielder. You're going to be seeing a lot of midfielders in this list. Pobega, buy or sell?
I love Pobega. That's a buy for me. I think he's just a solid, underrated player. He played really well for Torino in the second half of last season. He's played really well this season.
Yeah.
I don't know what Milan plan to do with him, but the fact that, Kessié will probably walk out and he jumps into an already, young, promising midfield, just a class player. I'm a big fan of Pobega.
I'll tell you, this could not have worked out more perfectly for Milan. Obviously, you never want to lose a player of Kessié's quality on a free, but when you can seamlessly take a player who's been essentially unlocked by Juric and has been brought out, I think, to some of his top potential. He almost hit a banger too, and in the this weekend's game, it was like a 20-something yard like curler. He just missed it. It would have been a beauty. So he's been unlocked. But if you take out Kessié and you put Pobega in, you have a young, progressive midfield that you can look forward to for many years to come that you could lock in. So for me, it's a buy. He's been phenomenal. I think he's only going to keep progressing. That brings me to my next player, Kessié. Do you buy or sell him? He's had a major, in my opinion, from last season to this season, it's been a major drop-off.
It's sell Kessié. Not just a drop-off. He wants to be paid like Paul Pogba money. Prime Paul Pogba money. And he's just not that player. And I don't know if maybe Milan don't utilize him enough. They don't get him in the box more to really kind of, get the best out of him. But at the same time, Kessié, he just whatever's going on there, he looks like he's regressed. So I'm out on Kessié.
Yeah, his play on the pitch has not reflected the type of talent that we think he is. I'd buy him if I'm Juve. If he's a free, I think not the salary that he wants, but if you can get him for cheaper and he's got no other options, it's probably between Barca right now and maybe Juve slips in there, but I think Juve's got their eyes on other players.
I'm all about Ryan Gravenberch.
It's all about Gravenberch. Everybody wants Gravenberch. Exactly. We don't want to hear any more Pogba talk unless he comes here for like $3 million. So dude wants like $50 million in a yacht or something.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go seriously. I'd go sell for Kessié. I think it's over at Milan. Hopefully he can rejuvenate his career somewhere else. But we got Lalo saying, yeah, I wanted him when at Atalanta, but now I'd say pass. And I agree. I think it's a pass now. Somebody who took a beating this weekend, as you saw on Twitter, Nicolo Zaniolo. A lot of talk about him. We talked about him, I think it was last week. What do you say now? Do you buy or sell him still?
Buy. I'm a Zaniolo stan. I think that kid, he's got a ton of talent. I think if you watch him closely, he's been really unlucky this year. Juventus fans aren't going to understand this till they see Chiesa next year, but when you tear your ACL, it sets you back. I just listened to an interview on ESPN FC with Sami Khedira talking about when he tore his ACL and how it completely changed his game. He was 23 when that happened.
Mm-hmm.
It changes things. And then not just do it once, but do it twice. He's had to rebuild his body, rebuild the way that he plays. I also don't think that Roma know what his best position is yet. I think that's a part of it. But I stand by the fact if you get a good coach, somebody like Allegri who's, one thing about Allegri, he's patient with his players. He's still tinkering with Moise Kean, even though we haven't seen the best out of Kean, right? Same with Morata. If you get a coach like that's going to tinker with Zaniolo and a more experienced coach, maybe someone that's not in the headspace that Mourinho's in now, I think he'd be a great player.
Yeah, 100%. We got Lalo saying he will be too expensive. His contract runs till 2024 unless Roma sells for cheap.
Clarify this comment because I was running the news from the admin today. I know Lalo follows us. So there was a rumor today that Romo's going to ask $70 million for him, Juventus aren't going to buy that at all.
Yeah.
Juventus, they won't negotiate for $70 million. I think that Roma's going to look at that market, see that nobody wants to pay that. I think that it'll be a bargain this summer. But he does bring up a good point that, if he's free, why not? But it is a fair point that Roma's going to ask a huge bargain for it.
Yeah, and then he says Luventino said Allegri is a good experienced coach. I love him more. We all love Lou more when he says a terrorist is a great coach. But yeah, for Zaniolo, I was doing this to hide my real feelings. Before he was linked to Juve, I was like, oh no, I would pass him. Now that he's linked to Juve, I'm all in. I think Zaniolo would be great. I mean, think about it like this. I tweeted this the other day, and it got some pretty good traction. Was that imagine a forward group of Zaniolo or Chiesa left wing, probably Chiesa left wing, Dybala cam, Zaniolo right wing, and then Vlahovic up top. Even though I don't think Zaniolo's best position is right wing, I think he's really more of a cam. But
the other thing is too, like I think that Zaniolo for Italy, he played in the midfield three a couple times, and he was really, really good before his ACL injury. He's only 22 years old, so I think that it's too early to sell on him, in my opinion. I think that there's still a lot left in the tank.
Yeah, and there's so many with his skill set and his body type and his talent. There's no saying whether he could go from this right winger cam to becoming a midfielder. He could essentially, with his skill set and his size, could become a midfielder because he's tall. He's pretty well. He runs like a freaking gazelle. So in the midfield, he would dominate midfield. He has great possession of the ball, great awareness. You could pop him in a midfield, and he'd be really good at being able to find guys on the wings because he's also played there, so he knows when to find guys and when they're going to be open and stuff like that. So you have to think about these things.
You're looking at like pressure too. Like right now, everything revolves. Yeah, he's not worth 70 mil. We can all agree on that, Chris. But he's right now. Roma rely heavily on him, right? Because they're just not a good team. I mean, they're a decent team. They're just not a consistent team, right?
Yeah.
So,
did he just say, I feel Sandro's going out, so I replace Sandro with Zaniolo? Is that what I'm hearing?
I think he's teasing me because we were talking about Sandro earlier today.
Oh.
Yeah. But it would be great. I'd be happy about that.
I'd rather have Zaniolo left back than Sandro.
Yeah. But, I just think that at Roma, he has to be the main man. There's more emphasis on him being the main man. He's Roma born. There's the Totti links, all that stuff. I think that at Juventus, he doesn't have to be the main man. He's got Dybala, Chiesa, Vlahovic. He can take his time. He can develop. I think that's where a move to a bigger club would help him.
I think it's great. Like you said, he has other players who can kind of absorb. I mean, Mourinho is great because he absorbs the pressure off the players. But at the same time, I don't think he's being used properly. I think, like you said, Allegri could unlock the best out of him, especially being along great players. If Dybala is still there, Vlahovic will obviously be there. Chiesa when he's healthy. Like, this team could look extremely scary. Even if Dybala's not there, if he slots into the cam position, that's a really, really talented team. If they get a proper left winger, man, that could be a really, really special team. Lila says, you guys sleeping with Allegri tinkering. Zaniolo new right back cam hybrid. Nothing would surprise me. So long story short, I think Zaniolo is a buy for me. And last but not least, you guys been waiting for this all show. I got to wait till the end. My boy, Moise Kean, baby. He scored again, baby. What are you thinking? Buy or sell, my boy, Moise Kean. What are we thinking?
It's a sell on Kean.
You're insane. You're a terrorist.
I'd like to say this. I was hugely happy about him coming back. Well, everything from his body language, it hasn't fit. We'll see about this wing role. He did score a goal this weekend. He looked good on the wing. But, you're looking at maybe like a $35 million option, and he has like a X amount of goals he has to hit to get that. I just don't see how that's worth it for me. Especially if they're going to bring Morata back. It just doesn't feel like he'd be anything more than just a squad player. But maybe that's where he would excel coming off the bench in less pressure, kind of like we mentioned Zaniolo. But it's a sell for me right now. I need to see more from him.
Do you know what my answer is going to be?
You're going to buy it because you like to dance.
I'm gonna buy them, man, because I want to be doing this dance all season long. So
everyone who's listening, to the few people that are listening, if there's one reason we should sell Keen, so Cliff will stop doing the dance.
That's fair, maybe. But then when we sell them, then I'll start doing the panita dance. I'll do the cuadrado dance
You should
instead.
sell him
And
too. I love Juan Cuadrado.
You might be more scared of me doing that dance than of me doing the Keen dance.
I think if you start doing the Cuadrado dance, I might have to retire Twitter.
That's fair. I buy him. In all honesty, I buy him because he's still very young. There's still a lot of potential there. And I don't think, obviously, I think he's best in a tandem up top. But the way we're playing him, I think he's most. I really was vehemently against it. But the way I saw him play against Empoli, I'm starting to come around to the idea of him playing as a winger.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. It's consistency for me. That's like he's missing consistency. But you can make the same argument for him. You can make for Zaniolo and say, hey, they're both really young players who kind of were given a lot at 18. You know, Keane was scoring goals for Juventus at 18. Zaniolo, 18, was scoring in the Champions League. So,
I just think it's unfair because they also really haven't given him consistent playing time. If you brought it down to, if you took out Morata and you put in, I think if you put in Keane into more games and played him as a left wing with Chiesa on the other wing, I think you would have given him a lot more opportunity to get wide open because a lot of the focus would have been on Dybala and Chiesa that Keane would have maybe gotten unlocked to be able to have more room to run. And now so with Vlahovic, that's another player that takes away some of the attention. So I think if you give Keane an opportunity, you put him in a front three of, say, you put him at left wing, you put Dybala at cam, Chiesa right wing when he's healthy, and Vlahovic up top, they could really cause some damage because he's a tricky player. He just needs to get going. We have some comments I want to catch up on.
Go for it.
Go cry more, Chris. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding, Chris. We love you. Roma's a project. That's not a 1-year plan. That's going to be like a 3-year plan. And I think the first plan is to, get in Europa League this year, and then that's a step up, and you keep building on that. Lalo saying Moyes is my baby. I'd say keep him. I know it's crazy, but I think with less pressure, he will thrive. Same as Morata, who was struggling with the pressure of being the main guy. Keane too was feeling it. Now Vlahovic takes the pressure off all the players. Dybala, if he stays, 100% agree.
He brings up a really good point. Keane was. Listen, if Zaniolo renews, Chris is going to be able to troll me for God knows how long.
That's when you deactivate.
Yeah. Well, hopefully Twitter will ban me before that happens.
That's a lot of receipts. Dude's getting. I work at CVS, so you get the CVS receipts. Where it's
he's going to get. It's going to be about this long. But I mean, to play devil's advocate with Keane, he did play really well as a winger at PSG. Allegri used him there a lot the first time. Mancini's used him there in the past. So maybe he was just being played out of position. We don't know, but I think it's all just about how he finishes for me.
Yeah, 100%. And then the last thing that Chris is saying is, I have a lot of Juventini friends. I got receipts. Chris, be quiet. We don't want to hear about your 50 CVS long receipts. But that does it for us for buy or sell. Lastly, I want to touch briefly on the Juve-Fiorentina match that's coming up tomorrow. Just want to get your quick thoughts on what you think this one will turn out as. We saw the lineup get posted today. Obviously, the All Juve cast team is going to hit on that tomorrow morning, actually. So you guys are going to want to tune into that at 8:30. We will not be on it, but we're going to have a great cast on it. We'll probably be in the chat bantering it up, talking about that game. So give me some of your thoughts on that match before we get ready to finish up.
I'm expecting this match to be really good. I know the Milan derby didn't live up to the hype. I know Juventus have a bunch of injuries.
Yep.
But I think both these teams, it's going to be interesting. Vlahovic is going back to Florence. Fiorentina, they're out for revenge. They hate us now more than they ever have. The last time we played was a tight game. It was a tight 1-0 that we barely squeaked out. So, I think that we're going to see two coaches with different styles. And I think it's going to be a fun, entertaining match. And Juventus being a lot weaker probably makes this game a lot closer than it normally should be. But, I think this will be a good one tomorrow.
This one gives me 3-2 vibes. I have a feeling that Vlahovic is going to have a hell of a game. He's going to be the sole guy who gets all the goals. I think he gets his first hat trick for Juve against his former team. I think he's going to really feel it. And then I think we probably see – I think we see Nico Gonzalez and we see Cabral score for Fiorentina. I think this is going to be a really, really tight game. Juve is going to have to play this one really tight. They're going to have to be really careful because obviously we're very, very thin on players. So I think this is going to be the opposite of today's match. It's going to be super exciting, a lot of fireworks. Obviously, it's a homecoming for Vlahovic. There was a lot of animosity when he left from the fans. It wasn't a very nice departure. They were calling him a lot of really terrible things, which obviously we don't like any of that. But they were upset. They were upset that he was leaving. Then you have Chris, always the negative one, saying 3-2 Fiorentina. Okay, Chris, whatever. Just to contradict me, he's saying 3-2. Piontek Hattie, in your freaking dreams.
Piontek there for a minute.
I mean, Piontek, between Cabral and Piontek, one of them scores, but I have a feeling that Nico Gonzalez gets his goal because he's a baller. Yeah, I think Juve 3-2.
Oh, and if Rabiot wears the armband tomorrow, they should just ban the stadium. Blow it the hell.
If Rabiot wears the armband, we're going to World War III for that. If he wears the armband, dude, oh my god, that's disgusting.
I saw that on Twitter before I sat down, and I had to say something about it.
God, we got to cancel the French if he gets an armband. Oh,
yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of basically it. I think that's kind of a good wrap up. Is there anything else you want to touch up before we wrap up the show?
Cliff, what do you think about Milan Napoli? Real quick, do you think it ends in a draw? You think someone gets a result in that match? Who is it?
I'm going to go Napoli. I'm going to go Napoli in that one. I'm going to go that one 1-0.
Is it in Naples?
I think so.
I think Milan are going to squeak this one out 2-1.
Okay, interesting. And then we got Layla saying, I think both teams will play this one loose. Fiorentina will want to have a result at home. Juve will go far away goals just to give ourselves a solid chance on the return game without having to go crazy. And then he also says Milan wins. Also, want to make one last note, guys. I'm giving up social media for Lent, so I will be off for about 2 months. So tonight's my last night. So if you guys have any questions or anything, send them my way before I go dark. Yeah, I think it's a really good idea to kind of take breaks from. This is a really good opportunity to take a break from social media. I'm looking forward to it. I'm gonna miss everybody. I hope everyone stays well. I hope everybody takes care of themselves. I'll miss it, but it'll be good. You guys will see me in 2 months. You'll still see me on Stoppage Time. I'll still be on the show. I'll try to make all Juve casts when I can. I'll still be pumping out content, but I will not be on social. So that's the last thing I kind of want to say. Lou, anything else you want to add?
I'm looking forward to the Cliff break on Twitter. It's gonna be great. I've never been more excited for Lent in my life.
Oh man, what are you giving up for Lent?
I'm making a Lenten promise, but I haven't decided what it is yet. Usually every year I make like a Lenten promise. Like last year, I decided I wanted to lose 10 pounds. I did that. Like I do something like that.
That would have been a lot easier to do. This might be a little bit more difficult.
I know. Like I use Lent as like kind of something to make some goals. So
yeah, that's awesome.
I'll think about it.
Miguel Lelo saying, funny, Ramadan starts in April, so I'll take a break from it as well. Good Lent and come out better than – that's awesome, man. If I could in any way motivate someone to, do the same thing, just take some sort of break, whether it's a week, a month, a couple of days, just something, because I think it's a good thing for your mental health. It's really good to just kind of maybe you take that time to learn a new skill or do something else. So I think it's a really positive thing. And really – I'm not going to miss too much in 2 months, and I got people who can text me stuff if something crazy happens. So
I'm going to share your crouching picture every day.
What'd you say?
That picture, the one that
I swear, if you post that every day, I'm never coming back to Twitter. I'm permanently deleting my account. Oh man, but yeah, I'm really happy that you're doing that too. That's amazing. And then on last note, Chris saying my list of receipts going to be longer than Putin's history. Oh.
Chris.
Oh, God. Come on, Chris. Come on.
Love him for it.
Yeah, but on a serious note, though, we're all praying for Ukraine. We hope that things are better. We pray for all those involved. That war is never the answer. We want peace. I think that goes without saying. And on a lighter note, oh, he already said that. I'm so I'm about to read the same thing.
Cliff.
I'm okay. That means
wrap this up.
okay, I'm gonna wrap it up. We got one last note from the gaffer. practice FIFA during that time, Cliff, since I worked to you last time. Okay, on that positive note, thank you everybody so much for hopping on. It's always a pleasure. Butter out there, everybody. Make sure you take care of yourselves. Keep doing good. Make someone smile today and every day if you can. And you guys have a great night. All the best, everyone. See ya.